So what now, TEDxEicherSchool? Are you guys ready for a change? And just pay attention to the screen. This is what I propose to everybody who is in this room and is getting a salary, that from tomorrow onwards, your salary comes in some contribution to the Provident Fund. There's some vouchers that you will get for food. You will get some petrol money and money to send your kids to school, irrespective of whether you have a car or you have kids. Compulsory deduction into medical insurance. And at the end of it, you will not have any money in your hand to spend on things that you want. And I also want to tell you that this particular salary slip has been designed by the best experts in India, and they are your well-wishers. Would you like to accept this change? How would you feel? Does it feel like childhood? But this is precisely how we are treating 300 million ultra poor people in India. It's people like you and me who decides how the money which is for their welfare is going to be spent. There are plethora of NGOs, government agencies, political parties, aid agencies who basically allocate all these resources for the poor on their behalf. They decide whether the poor needs a toilet or they need a school, whether poor should go and do vaccination or something like this. Have you also wondered, when it comes to giving things, why is that people are always handing out an old piece of clothing, or they are giving something which is they don't need, it's their trash? Because in our country, when it comes to working with poor and helping them, our benchmarks are really, really low. We believe that something is better than nothing. And no wonder, so many years after independence, we are not able to lift extreme poor people out of poverty. I work in the social sector, and I thought that organized aid and organized way of doing development work is more effective. But that is really not the case. On any development project which do you see, whether it is giving cows and goats, or it's a cow and a goat kind of a project, behind every one such cow or goat, there are consultancies, project overheads worth 4 cows. And sometimes you have to stop and ask this question: is the value that we are adding into the project more than 4 cows? Maybe yes, maybe not. Now, when it comes to working with the poor in the world, there are basically 2 big groups. Yeah. One group thinks that the poor are poor because they're uneducated. Yeah. They make really, really poor decisions. Yeah. They cannot be trusted. Yeah. So they need us to tell them what they need. Yeah. And then we give it to them. And not only that, we can trust them with a cow. Yeah. We can trust them with a training program. What we cannot trust them with, money. On the other hand, there are some people who believe that poor people are just like you and me. They are probably unfortunate. Yeah. They are intelligent. They really know what they need. So instead of giving them a cow, if we were to give them money and the choice to decide what they should do with this money, so maybe they'll go and buy a cow, or maybe some of them will go and start a small business and earn an income out of it. Some of them might decide to put more food on the table or spend this money on education or something else. So these are the 2 distinct groups. They are the ones who are basically forming how the work around poor and poverty alleviation for the ultra poor is going to kind of work out. So now in India, in a state called Madhya Pradesh, Seva and UNICEF actually did a pilot. And what they did in this pilot was that they identified families and they gave money to each household member. Yeah. And then they stopped and they then measured what happened. And to the surprise, they found that the income generation activities in the village went up. The money was given to both men and women, so women had more decision making when it comes to doing things in their household. They also found that there was no increase in the consumption of alcohol or gambling or using this money for tobacco. Elsewhere in the world, like in Africa, there's a pioneering charity in the US called Give Directly. They've been running large cash transfers or giving free money to the poor in Africa, and they have found that every $1,000 that they gave away, there was substantial increase in income, savings, the well-being of the family year on year. Closer home in Sri Lanka, when money was given to small entrepreneurs as a grant, the returns on that grant after 5 years were close to 100%. So not only this seemed to kind of work, this is also sustainable. Now for a moment, I want you to think as to what does it feel to be really poor. Now imagine that you're doing something really, really important. Maybe you have an exam or you have a presentation to make or something like that. But your mind is constantly somewhere else. You are not able to focus. You are really worried about where your next meal is going to come. What are you going to do today? Will you get some wages today or not? These are the things that you're worried about. You really cannot focus on future. You cannot attend a training program. You cannot attend a capacity building program or do something else. It's almost like a computer, which is a fairly good computer, but you have too many programs that this computer is running. So the screen freezes. This is not a bad computer. So you cannot tinker with the software if you now want this computer to work. Maybe it is time to add some memory, and hopefully the computer will start working again. In the context of the poor, money is that memory. So if we were to give them money, maybe that will increase their bandwidth. Now they're not worried about here and now. They can start worrying about future. How should they come out of poverty? How should they really, really improve their lives? So I have spent about 15 years in the social sector, and I have to really ask this proverbial question to myself. Am I worth more than 4 cows? Is the value that I add into the whole system, is it more than 4 cows? And it seems like, at least in this case, Akal is not badi than bhais. It seems like 4 cows are better than one of me actually doing in the something in the field. So I believe that giving money for free to the poor, it's a very, very good idea. Economists call it with a very, very fancy name. It's called an unconditional cash transfer. I believe that poor people are very, very enterprising. They're trustworthy. They precisely know what they need. They don't need me to tell them what they need and then give it to them. If we were to give unconditional money to the poor over a period of 2 to 3 years, 300 million Indians, then they will find out innovative ways to come out of poverty. So this is what I am trying to experiment through this initiative called Cash Relief, which is about giving unconditional money, free money, no strings attached to the poor people. So what we are going to do is, we are going to give 96,000 rupees to every household in a village. This is equivalent to their 2 years of income over 7 installments. We will not tell them how to use this money. We will probably step back and then see what happens. And maybe, we are in for a surprise, because we believe that poverty is really not a lack of character or ability. It is lack of cash. So it's high time that we fix it. We give money to the poor unconditionally. Thank you very much.